Now, recently, Senator Bernie Sanders asked people on Twitter about what was their most absurd medical bill that they had ever received. Now, Bernie Sanders, of course, is in favor of a single payer Medicare for all healthcare system, which would eliminate copays, premiums, and deductibles for every single American. So every American guaranteed coverage. That's pretty cool, right? Especially when you look at some of these horror stories that these people had shared, and they are both amazing slash heartbreaking. So let me start out with the first response here. One user said, "quote $10,000 to pay for our daughter's neonatal care 1 year after the fact. She died 30 minutes after birth, and our insurance wouldn't pay because we failed to add her to our policy." So this person has a child who unfortunately passed away, didn't add her to insurance. Hey, sorry, your dead baby's not covered. That'll be $10,000, please. Jesus. More. $120,000 emergency room bill came the day that I paid $8,000 for my daughter's funeral. Again, these are some of the worst stories. Now, here's the kicker about that, right? So, again, $8,000 for a funeral, $120,000 medical bill. She died because she couldn't afford the medicine and treatment after she was released from the ER. And that person says, quote, "This is what access to health care gets you." And you are all these Democrats out there talking about, oh, no, we just want to make sure that every American has access to health care. No, that's what access is. We already have access to health care, but it's 100% unaffordable for so many Americans. So that's why no half measures, Medicare for all. More. All right. Troy Rudd said in 1991 at age 21, I broke my neck in a diving accident. $1.2 million later for 8 months in the hospital after months of fighting with Blue Cross and Loyola University Medical Center in Chicago, I owed $250,000 after insurance. Well, I mean, could have been the $1.2 million. That's not the point. What regular person has $250,000 just lying around for medical bills? No, nobody. That's why he was forced to file medical bankruptcy at the age of 23. That is your free market in healthcare. Barbaric. Another one. Attempted to charge me $600 to remove my stitches. Did it myself in 4 minutes. Saved a lot of money. Now, there's another story of a person who fainted from the heat, right? It's hot outside, hadn't eaten all day, so obviously passed out, had an ambulance called. So the ambulance came, they had an IV, did their job, gave him fluids, everything. A few minutes, he was fine. They still decided to bring him back to the hospital and run a few tests. So after all that said and done, and by the way, nothing was wrong with him. He was fine. It's just hot outside and, not eating for most of the day. He ended up getting a $12,000 medical bill. More. Another woman got billed $3,000 a year for 3 years after her son was born because the insurance company had deemed her emergency C-section completely unnecessary. It was $9,000. And she also had to pay $3,000 up front for a miscarriage and $500, and this is icing on the cake, for an ultrasound confirming that her child had died in the womb. So another woman paid $35,000 for an ectopic pregnancy. She lost a baby and could have lost her life emergency surgery. And now she owes $35,000 to the hospital. A man ended up being charged $1,400 for a Band-Aid on a $40,000 bill total for the hospital. Now, here's the thing about the American healthcare system. The most simplest things are marked up to an insane price so they can maximize profit, maximize the amount of money coming in. Okay. Even nonprofit hospitals tend to mark things up in order to recoup their losses, right? And a lot of that is due to the insane price of pharmaceutical drugs, as well as these hospitals use. Okay. And the reduced amount of federal funding that these hospitals get, federal and state funding. So they charge these insane amounts, $1,400 for a Band-Aid that should have cost about 20 cents. Complete and utter insanity. Now, there's more. People who have run for office even, right? Even people on the TYT network, Farron Cousins had his own story, runs Ring of Fire, right? So he had his own story. And then here's a name if you've been watching for a long time, you might recognize. Amy Vilela. Now, she ran as a Justice Democrat and shared her story. She shared her story on this show, shared her story on the Young Turks main show, and everywhere she get Humanist Report. And their stories, if you haven't heard, it's incredibly heartbreaking, right? Now, she shared this on Twitter. She said, "My daughter Shaylin's $350,000 medical bill to die a needless death. Treating her and saving her life would have cost about $1,500, all because she couldn't provide a proof of insurance." I remember hearing that story. I mean, she went into detail. Medical biopsy, or wallet biopsy, it's what they call it. If they don't think you have the money to pay, then they'll let you go, give you an aspirin, and tell you to leave. And that's exactly what they did to her. And then she died. Totally needless, unnecessary. And look, I've talked to her on and off air, and her story, again, is devastating. And her resolve in the face of that, dealing with that tragedy, is nothing short of amazing. And she's an amazing person, and her and her family. And so that's why she is a fighter. That's why she fights for Medicare for all. She doesn't want to see anything like that happen to a family again. I have my own personal story, right? Not about insurance bills, but about the fear of insurance bills. My own sister, she didn't have insurance, and she was having a heart attack, related symptoms, nausea, vomiting, and all that. The symptoms that women get when they have when they're ready to go into to basically cardiac arrest. And she's like, "Oh no, I'm fine. I'll be fine. I'm just getting sick this morning. I'm not going to go to the hospital." Why? Because I don't have insurance. It'll cost too much. She died that morning. So, all because she was afraid of how much our healthcare system was going to cost us, because it's insane. It's absolutely insane and unacceptable. There's another person that was charged $120,000 per treatment for chemotherapy for cancer. Tell me who has that kind of money. A regular person that does not have that kind of money. There's nobody. Nobody. We cannot. This is 100%, even with insurance, completely unaffordable. No one outside of America pays this kind of money for these procedures or these medications. No one. No one. One more here. And this is from a doctor who, received this kind of treatment. She said, $600 for my son who lived for about 3 minutes. He received no medical care at all, as he died almost immediately. He didn't get enrolled in my insurance plan. So I got the bill from the hospital where I was a doctor. This is barbaric. What are we doing? We are the only modern country in the entire world where people have these stories. The only country. Absolute insanity. Again, there are a lot of these people have insurance, lost their children, lost their family members, and then get a giant bill on top of it, as if you don't already have enough to worry about. You have to bury your freaking child. And then you also have to worry about, well, gee, I don't have $120,000 or $60,000 to pay for a medical bill. I don't have time to sit here and argue with my insurance company and whether or not they feel like they want to cover it. No, Medicare for all. There are literally thousands of these stories. And these are just online. This is just one thread on Twitter. There are likely so many more in this country that we have never heard of. How many more do we have to hear? How many more have to happen before we can get smart and get Medicare for all? These politicians, these pundits, they can sit there and they can lie about single payer. They're doing it right this minute. Oh, your taxes are going to go. It's going to take away your health insurance. It's not going to take away your health insurance. It's a flat out BS lie meant to scare you away. Why? Because these companies want to make profit. I believe that companies should have be able to make a profit, but not in healthcare. You know why? Because we have profit in healthcare. This is what happens. You are hurting human beings. And now these companies, for all of these companies, you know what? Making an extra buck is more important than caring about humanity. No, we need single payer. We need it now. Unless we change to a system, not a public option, not anything that preserves health insurance. We cannot have private health insurance, because if you preserve that system, then this will continue to happen. We have to have a Medicare for all single payer system, and we cannot accept any middle ground. If we do, this stuff will continue to happen in these stories, and it will not ever stop. Get the profit motive out of healthcare. Get the insurance companies out of healthcare. We need single payer. We need it now. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.